it's kind of a disgrace that in the last years that he wasn't protected from what now we believe are kind of quite misguided laws about people's sexuality and so on. And nowadays we recognise that individuals are allowed to be individuals, as long as they're in consensual relationships and so on, fine. But then he was, of course, he as well as his reputation suffering from the secrecy, the post-war secrecy, he suffered personally from that because nobody knew what he'd done. They didn't know how much the country had benefited from his work during the Second World War. And so when he was mistreated by the legal process, there wasn't really that some groundswell of outrage. What are you doing to this man? He's a national hero. How can you do this? I mean, if someone had done this to Einstein or something, or Gödel or somebody like that, people would have said, "This is just not what you do to."
This is national treasure.
So there was his longtime friend Max Newman in Manchester and his family. They were very helpful to Turing and so on, but there was a limit to what a mathematics professor at Manchester University could do. I just can't believe that there wasn't some protection. Of course, there were rumours that they did worse than not provide protection. They actually were glad to see him go because in those days, of course, there were scandals with Burgess and Maclean and so on, and so people who were not people who were gay were thought to be a security problem. And I mean, this was ridiculous of Turing, but there were rumours that the mysterious way in which Turing died was related in some way to the special branch of the security services and so on. I think there are some misleading things on the web about Turing. There's all sorts of misleading things on the web, but I think Andrew Hodges, who wrote the best biography of Turing, he started off with this kind of suspicion about the way Turing died, but by the time he'd finished and he'd talked to many people and thought about it and investigated, he decided there was no substance to this. That it probably was suicide. But Robin Gandy, Turing's only student, I talked to him, and he saw Turing, just like a week before he died. No suggestion that there was anything like that brewing. And but then you ask Robin Gandy, you say, well, why did he do it? He says, only a logician could say this. I think he says sometimes things happen for no reason. And I think what he was suggesting was that there's causality that one can't access, and also I think he thinks that to try and reduce the way people think some kind of reason, is kind of it doesn't show respect to the person. People are complicated. It is true that Turing had talked to people previously about suicide, but that was over a period of years. I think he kind of played with it as a kind of intellectually interesting, an intellectually interesting decision, and why would one do it, and reasons one might do it for, so it's very hard to know. It's very hard to know what was going on in Turing's mind, because he didn't leave a diary, and he didn't talk personally to people in general about what he thought and felt and so on.